Now, I have a real specific kind of time blindness, and we are jumping in right at the top because I am trying to squeeze in a podcast, record, edit, upload, and in, let's say, 45 minutes. Now, is this episode going to be maybe 12 minutes? It's none of your business. What you get is what you get. Because I have this compulsive, kind of unstoppable ability to plan to do 1,000 things in a day, fail at every single one, feel like a failure, and then go like, what's wrong? Why do I feel so bad? Well, you set yourself up for failure, doll. Why'd you plan to do 1,000 things in 45 minutes? It takes me 45 minutes just to brush my hair. So I want to talk about travel because I don't know what the moons and the stars and the Scorpios and the heavens are doing for me, but I am in a transitional phase in my life between finishing majority of my shows in Australia and now preparing my life to go overseas for the remainder of 2025. If any of you listened to the podcast and came to the show on Saturday, thank you. We had our ups. We had our downs. A lot of downs, but we had our downs and we had our ups. Some of the crowd were a little quiet. I don't know who they are. I don't know who decides to come to a show called Sex Jokes for Women on a Saturday night and bring zero personality. But I want to say shout out to those people for ruining my last big show. But shout out to the people who came and were a lot of fun. What I wanted to talk about today was just travel and specifically like where I'm going, what I'm up to, and kind of the feelings that are coming along with that. Because it is so weird. Like I've been pretty sedentary in Australia for since the pandemic. Maybe 6 months into the pandemic. And I've traveled a little bit and stuff, but I'm about to leave for 6 months. And that's wild. I can't afford more than one 30-kilo bag. So I'm also okay, so am I doing capsule wardrobe like people do on TikTok, which I hate because it's I have furs and feathers that would fill 30 kilos like this. You know what I mean? Now let's get into some of the topics that I actually wanted to talk about today. Breathe in. Welcome to What the Fuchs with Jess Fuchs. Now breathe out. And scream. Because here's what's pissed Jess off this week. There's kind of two things I've been thinking a lot about. The first is goal setting and how do you reset and redecide what your life looks like after you achieve something or you have spent so much time focused on one thing. Now, some of you might be like, well, that's unrelatable to me. That's not true. Just because I live this cushy life as a 31-year-old at home with my parents, single and an unstable career, doesn't mean you, with probably the opposite of everything I just said, can't relate to me. I'm relatable. From day one, I'm relatable, baby. That's what I pride myself on. Okay? Yeah, you might be sitting there going, I can't relate at all because I have a partner and a house and I travel regularly because I have a stable income and my hair is washed regularly. I don't let it get greasy and have to do a slick back bun, and I then don't have to compensate by telling people, oh, it's intentionally slick back and wet look, like I used a wet mousse. Maybe your life isn't as shimmery and shiny as mine. But I do believe that we all have things that we hyperfixate on as a be-all and end-all. Whether it's oh, if I lose X amount of weight, or if I find a partner, or if I get this thing, or if I do this thing. And then you get the thing or you do the thing. And then it's kind of well, now what? So I'm kind of in that well, now what phase, in that well, now what era. And I know that's not cute. It's not what on TikTok everyone's I'm in my slut girl era. It's no, I'm in my who the fuck am I era and what the fuck am I doing era. And in some ways, maybe the whole world is in that because it's a bit of a mess right now. So maybe we'll talk about some of the feelings and thoughts and hashtag emotions that I've been thinking and experiencing the last couple of days since finishing my show on Saturday night, because that show had been kind of a labor of love for the last couple of months, whether it's from Melbourne, starting in Melbourne, doing all those shows in Melbourne, and then through to Sydney and then doing an encore. So if you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, basically I did an hour-long stand-up comedy show. It started in Melbourne, took a while to curate and kind of massage and get it right. And then I just did the encore show in Sydney, which was good. It wasn't great, but it was good. I think there were so many factors that go into that. also figuring out like the format and the structure of a live show when people are so used to like, people are shy. Like my mum came to the show and she's a little more shy and she was like, I would never interact. Like I would never, ever, ever put my hand up to be crowd work. Like, you know, so there would be people in there who just have no interest in that. And I'm like, what's that thing? It's something, your tribe, your type attracts your tribe or something like that. I'm like, I want all the psychotic extroverts nationwide, worldwide to be sitting front row at my show. I don't want these introverts who are shy. No, that's not true. I'm happy to have the introverts. I think it's like good on you, you know, as long as you're leaving the house and making eye contact, I'm proud of you. And even the eye contact is negotiable. So whoever you are, come to the show. But I want, you know what it is? I want the show to be approachable enough for the introverts to feel comfortable enough to express themselves. And I know that is kind of like, what are you talking about, Jess? That's not possible. The introverts need a show that's one-on-one. Maybe next year I do a show where it's just for the introverts. And you can buy one or two tickets. So if you feel comfortable bringing a friend who you feel comfortable being extroverted with, then fine. Also, the introverted extroverted thing, oh, shut up. We're all a hybrid, and anyone who's an extrovert, ooh, I don't want to be near you. When this camera isn't on or I am not on stage with a microphone, I am silent by myself, don't want to talk to anybody, incognito mode when I leave the house. Baseball cap, glasses, high turtleneck to cover everything. It's not even like anyone's trying to talk to me. I just don't want to seem approachable. And so in many ways now I am thinking, well, if you've come to my comedy show, perhaps even then you don't want to be approachable and I shouldn't yuck your yum. So goal setting, it's so hard. You know, I think given the day and age we live in, the next 6 months for me, I do want to try and make a lot more digital content, make stuff that, whether it's telling stories or just like observations or sketches, whatever, that's part of the goal while I'm away and just traveling and in a new place and stuff like that. So that's what I'm hoping to do. And then, you know, I have been thinking a lot recently. I think this is so kind of not inside baseball. You know, I know very little terms like inside baseball because that is like corporate jargon and like male culture jargon. But I use the term inside baseball so fucking much that I think it's time to expand what I know. Like I just learned KPIs and I used it in a joke and I was like, this is so fun for the corporate cucks who are in the audience because they're like, KPIs, I have KPIs. I'm like, yes, I don't, but you do it. I love that. I love being relatable. But inside baseball just means like, it's too inside base. Okay, don't make me explain it. I know what it means. And you know what it means. And that's enough. So I think I used to really want to like, you know, write and sell a TV show. But the reality is whether it's like Australia importing and paying a lot of money for like American and British content, we don't have a massive industry in Australia. That is just like kind of whether you know that or not, that's the baseline. And so the reality or the kind of like goal to sell and make a TV show, not that it's not realistic, it's being done and that's awesome. And there's lots of people in Australia who are like achieving that fab. But I think realistically, like it's not possible for me where I'm at right now. And so I've just been kind of reconsidering like what are the long-term and short-term goals and, you know, how do I keep creating stuff and keep being able to tour and expand an audience so that I can like, one, make enough money to like then keep funneling it into things. Like last year and this year I made that interview series Thrifting, but to be honest, it just became too expensive, which is such a shame because I love it. I'm going to try do some inexpensive versions of it when I'm in the UK and touring and stuff like that, like interviewing comedians, maybe with just like a tiny little handheld camera, but then the quality isn't as good and that's like such a bummer because it's not as easy and fun to watch. And, you know, we are all like swiping so much and it's like what looks good and sounds good catches people's attention. So it's like, oh God, I'm falling asleep at the wheel with this algorithm. So re-shifting goals is something I'm thinking a lot about. Also, someone the other day just looked at me and was like, so you're a workaholic, right? Like, and I was like, huh? First of all, fuck you. Don't speak to me like that with no warning. If you are trying, and I've been thinking a lot about this, we have our compliment sandwich, something nice, something cruel, something nice. I don't necessarily have time for a compliment sandwich. I think it drags a little. I think what I want is an open-faced toasty. I want something nice followed by you grilling the fuck out of me. And I'm cool with a grill, but set me up with something a little nicer, a little warning, you know? Don't just look at me and go, so you're a workaholic, yeah? I'm like, don't you dare attack my identity that way. Whether I am or I'm not, it's none of your business, and I'll thank you to not speak to me during business hours, which is 24/7, because I am busy all the time because I'm hustling. Hustle culture, you know? I'm like those influencers who are like, this is my daily routine. It starts at 3 a.m. I diary till 3:05. Then I put my face in ice. Except mine is just a little bit different. But yeah, I am on that level of psychopathy. None of your business. None of my business, because I don't need to be using a word like that ever again. So anyway, we're talking goals, and I'm just trying to reassess, but I also can't fathom travel. I think that's why I'm going like, what do the next 6 months look like? You know, what do I actually want to be doing? And what am I going to spend my days and my nights and my time on? Because I don't know about you guys. Like I've traveled, maybe in the last couple of years, I've traveled domestically. I've gone to Melbourne, Perth, Brisbane, like just for shows. Literally, I'd just fly in, stay at a hotel or like an Airbnb, whatever the club is putting me up at, do my shows, come back. I'm not like touring around when I'm going somewhere. And then last year I went with Nick White to New Zealand and opened for him. Basically, we did a little bit of touristy stuff. I told that story a couple of podcasts ago about going to that animal sanctuary. That happened when we were in New Zealand. But we did spend majority of our time like touring. You know, I was doing multiple shows a night, opening for him. Then I'd go to a comedy club or I would do his show. And then we did spend majority of our time like performing at night. So then during the day, we're not going out and like going too hard doing stuff. We also were filming content. I did an episode of thrifting while I was there. You know, we were booked and busy. So I didn't get to like kick back other than a couple of days. So there is a part of me that's kind of like, I've only traveled recently for work. And even though I am going to the UK for work, like, so basically I'll be in the UK for 3 months. I'll be doing a bunch of shows. I'm trying to suss out like, is this the sort of place I would want to live? When I've traveled there in the past, it's only been for a couple of days at a time. And I've just found the city really fucking spread out. I found it like so big. Whereas when I lived in New York, it's like everything's kind of more compact and tiny and it's this little island and like you can get around really easily. And I've heard that the tube is really easy in the UK and stuff. It's not necessarily about the form of transport. I think most major cities at this point have like decent, you know, modes of transport. But I think New York, like you can walk for 10 minutes and be in a completely different like neighborhood and bike ride and just I don't know. But I'm giving London a huge opportunity because I'm being very open because I want it to be a good place for me to potentially go, or at the very least be based like in Sydney, but then be in the UK for 6 months a year or something like that. I don't know. I'm trying. This is other part of goal setting that's hard. When you don't know what's coming down the line, it's like so hard to know and you want to keep yourself open to opportunities and options and stuff like that. God, the public transport thing, and this is kind of a beautiful segue into the other part of what I want to discuss. Now, majority of my time in Australia is spent in a car in terms of transport. I do catch the train and bus on occasion, but most of my world is, 30 kilometers, like not even, so I drive to most shows. I usually am at shows late, so I drive home, like I'm driving. I go on public transport. But when I've traveled or lived in other countries in the past, the public transport, the thing people say about New York City is you are on the train with every kind of person. Whereas a place like LA, it's a little more fake. Everyone can sit in their car and be protected from the people outside or interacting with other people. It's very much, New York is like fetishizes hustle culture and is like, whoa, sick, you're in a band, you look cool, you're on the train. LA is more like we're pretending that we can own a convertible, even though we can't because it's rented. And New York, that is the thing. The people watching on the train is unparalleled. The kinds of experiences I've had on a New York City subway are like no other modes of transport worldwide. And I cannot wait to get back in the belly of the beast. And yes, I am romanticizing as I sit in my cushy house when I go to my beautiful car where I am isolated and alone. But there is nothing like peak hour traffic, peak hour taking the train or the bus in a busy city that keeps you humble, that keeps you locked in, that keeps you fascinated by human nature. I remember one time, it's peak hour, we're packed in like sardines. I've got my hand up, I'm holding onto the standing bar, right? Now I'm 5 foot, I'm like, how tall am I? I, for a long time, thought I was 162 centimeters. I went to the doctor semi-recently, and she said, you're 165 centimeters. I said, hey, bitch, never too late to grow. I'm standing there, and I say all that to say, breasts, imagine what height they're at. If I'm 165, those titties are at maybe 100. So, no, well, yeah, with a bit of droop if I'm not wearing the right bra. Let's say nipples are at 100. And so I'm standing there holding onto the bar. And the train in New York, and I'm sure this does it elsewhere as well, but this is a real, like, old school, like, grotty trains that haven't been wheeled with a bit of oil. It's squeaky as fuck and, like, sounds like there's about to be a metal fire underneath you, kind of screeching halt that these trains come to a stop. So this train comes to, like, a random stop, and I'm, like, flinging titties around, nipples moving from 100 to 98, 100 to 98, swinging around low and high. And a man stands up. He's right in front of me on the seat. But because we're packed in so hard, he stands up. And as he stands, the train keeps moving a little bit to readjust. It sometimes does that. So you think it stops, so people start moving, and then it like shifts again. And with the velocity of that shift and my breasts swanging, he comes up and brushes onto my breasts. His face, his whole eyes and his eyes and his nose and his mouth catch the tip of my nipple and hit my breast and go up. So then we become eye to eye, and then the doors don't open. Another classic New York City moment where the doors don't fucking open and you're stuck in one of the worst interactions. So now we've gotten to second base and are staring at each other in the eye. Hand still on the pole. I can't move my hand because, hey, in case the train moves again, then what's he going to grab me by the breast to stabilize me? Not again. Not again. I've learned my lesson on the L train. So finally the doors open and he has to bow underneath my arm saying thank you for second base and leaving the train. You've been quietly assaulted on the train, and it's not his fault and it's not yours. It's the New York Metro's fault for the squeaky wheel and the sudden stops and the packed subway line. So he's just gone face deep. He's motorboated me on the subway. Hey, we should be on a boat for that if you're motorboating me. Let's get on some water instead of this land. And I just have to go on with my day. And, you just get to work and you get on with it and you don't really tell anybody. Whose fault? No one's. You couldn't have done anything about it. Another time I was on the train, and again, I'm 165 centimeters, formerly 162. And it's peak hour. I'm standing with my short stature right under a man. It's pretty busy, not as bad as you'd think, but we're standing a bit close for comfort, me and a man. I'm holding the pole. This time it's not a reach up, it's a reach to the side. I'm stable. There is a man. My hair is out. It's fluffy. I didn't have the right curly girl approach yet. So it's pretty Hagrid adjacent. And by Hagrid adjacent, I mean Hagrid, okay? Now, this man would have been a good 2 feet taller than me, and he has his head roughly at the height of the top holding pole. Now, he decides to take out a pocket bag of nuts and seeds, and how do I know there's nuts and seeds? Well, he proceeds to tip the bag into his mouth, missing majority of his mouth, and it goes into my hair, making my hair look like a bird's nest where a mum has just placed in snacks for the newborns. So as I'm kind of trying to shake the seeds and the nuts out of my frizz, he continues to throw this bag back. Now, he pulled it out of his pocket, so you go, oh, it must be a travel size. Yeah, you'd think, but the number of seeds and nuts hitting my fucking temple, whilst he's also somehow chewing loudly, makes it feel like it's a family-size bag of snack. So I'm wiping away, I'm moving, and he's not catching my drift at all. You'd think if you see a woman shaking her hair while seeds fall out of it, like she's a bird seed feeder for birds that your dad is trying to get coming to the balcony. Now, I don't know if anyone else's dads do it, but given the amount of bird seed and the shapes that they sell at Bunnings and other kind of warehouses that men buy their tools from, I'd say it's pretty common that men are obsessed with trying to get birds to eat out of their apartments. What's that about? And I don't have time to get into the psyche of that. So desperate to be one with nature, right? So this man, he's just absolutely snacking on these nuts and seeds, and my hair was just getting absolutely covered in it. I mean, I would have walked out in the sun and it would have looked like I was bejazzling my hair and adding in some extra, like, diamantes that in the 90s kids were clipping in, if anyone remembers those. Shimmery, shiny, delicious. There's been so many public transport faux pas, for lack of a better word, not to be pretentious and use French. Now, that would have happened between my ages of 24 to 28, let's call it, or 22 to 26, that kind of mid-20s, a little more comfortable with your body, taking up space on public transport, not feeling nervous. And also, I knew what I was doing at this point. I'm riding the trains every single day for work, such like that. So I'm chilling. After high school, I traveled with some friends, and then after that, I came and started university pretty much straight out of school, but I had like a couple weeks, a couple months to chill out. So a lot of Aussies, I don't know what people do in the US and shit like that, but in Australia, it's pretty common that Australians will like finish high school. Maybe you travel domestically, maybe you travel internationally. Some will come back if you're choosing to go to uni, and you start uni that year, kind of essentially, or the next year, but within a couple months. All that to say, which is really, I didn't even need to tell you any of that, is that I hadn't really traveled too much, but then I came back, started studying psychology, hated it, left the classroom on a random Tuesday when they were trying to teach us math and statistics. And I said, no, I won't be participating in this pyramid scheme. I don't believe math is necessary in day-to-day life, so I'm out. Consider me out, coach. But I really wanted to go on exchange, and I'd already been approved for exchange to go to America. So I stuck out the remainder of, I dropped that class, I stuck out the other classes, and then went on exchange like a couple months later for another semester. And then I knew I would pull out of university once I got back from exchange. And after I went on exchange, I then traveled for a little bit, and I went to LA. I'd never been to LA. I did not know, I know that the internet was around, but I guess that at that point, the way that I was using the internet was not to like Google stuff like, do I catch a train or a bus in LA? I also didn't really have any friends living there or a family or anything. So I didn't realize that it's a driving city, that majority of the people, or not majority, like lots of people drive. I also had no concept of how big and far and wide this place is. Like London, which seems massive on a map. And when I've been there, I was like, Jesus, this is fucking spread out. I didn't look at a map of LA and go, whoa, this looks massive. No concept. So on one of the days I was staying at a hostel down by like one section. I want to say it was like a near-ish a beach. And I wanted to go to a shopping mall because I needed to get some stuff. I still had a little bit of travel to go, and I think I'd ran out of undies or the will to live. And I thought, get me inside 4 walls that are air-conned and have a lot of fake shit that'll give me fake dopamine hits. Okay, shopping. Let's get into it. Girls be shopping, bitch. And so I'm like, how do you get there? Now, Uber was kind of a thing, but I either would have not had it, was too poor. I don't even know if Uber was a thing. This would have been 2013. So it would have been probably a thing, I'm sure, but it wasn't really accessible and around. So I got on a bus. I went from my hostel to a bus, and this bus ride was hours. I mean, hours upon hours. I mean, truly shocking. And I kept thinking, now what the fuck am I doing? You know what I mean? On top of that, I'm sitting on the bus and I'm looking out, and I'm enjoying the sights and smells and, of everything of LA. And we stop at a bus stop. And the bus flap goes down. Someone in a wheelchair rolls on. They're saying hello to everybody. Very friendly. Lovely. Now, they pull up into the disabled spot. They put themselves there. Now, this bus was one of those old school buses. Some are plastic. Some of that fabric, kind of like this couch that I sit on. It's a bit like felt adjacent, and it's got that like pattern, right? The kind of dots. I don't know who created it, but best good on them. It hides stains, I'm going to assume. Now, this person is sitting there, and they decide it's time to take their fake teeth out. So they just put their fingers in their mouth. They take their fake teeth out, almost like someone taking a plate or a mouth guard out, but it's their teeth. And they wipe it down on the felt of the couch, of the seat, on the bus, clean it off nice and good, and put their teeth right back in. Am I salivating in a way that is simulating vomit and I'm going to be sick? 100%. My memory isn't very good. I don't remember much, but I have these pockets of memories that are just so traumatic and visceral and almost physical. And this will be a memory that flashes behind my eyes on my deathbed, because it is so ingrained in my mind, this moment of a person taking their teeth out. No worries if you need to take your teeth out. I'd do it all the time as a party trick if I had fake teeth. But the wiping on the velour seats is a level of comfort in a space that I can never get behind. And this person is wearing clothes. Hey, clean it on your clothes. And by the time I got to the shopping mall, you can imagine there was a bad taste in my mouth that I wasn't really ready to shop. Bitches, don't be shopping all the time when you've just seen someone clean their teeth on a bus seat. we just have this amazing ability to romanticize travel, even though in moments of travel I have been so homesick for the comfort of my house, so desperately homesick for the comfort of my mother's tasteless bolognese. There is really this, I don't know what it is, why we romanticize it. It's just because we're somewhere other than our home, which I can kind of understand. And I do think I'm going into this next 6 months work travel experience with a degree of like rose-colored glasses, but I actually think it is the thing that is necessary that gets you through the most horrific, shitty parts of being in a new place, in a foreign city, in a space with people you don't know. It's kind of going like, God, as Kesha says, we're living in the good old days. You know what I mean? It's like there is a part of me that I go, slay mama, I am about to kind of embark on a round the world trip that nothing will go wrong. Yes, so much will go wrong, and you'll be hearing of every week I'm going to come on and complain the fuck out of shit. You know, I'm not looking forward to the flight. I hate flying. I actually am okay at flying. My trick is I wear a hoodie and I turn the hoodie the other way around, like a zip-up hoodie. I turn it the other way around, put the hood part over my face like a terrifying demon, and I just put my arms into the holes, tuck myself away and squirrel away and fall asleep. I just hate, like, who isn't, you know, everyone hates being physically uncomfortable. I wish I could fly something other than sardine economy, but that's what God has to give me at this point in my life. And when he's ready, he will shower me with abundance. I am not religious in any capacity, no offense if you are, but I just think speaking in religious terms like God and shower me with abundance is so chic and funny. So that's just kind of a thing. I'm sure you know that by now. One time I was flying somewhere and I recall being asleep so deeply that I woke up and came to, and a woman was straddling me on either side, and I looked up and she was like, sorry, I didn't want to wake you. Is that true, or is it a memory that I've created? It's so hard to say, but it feels real. It feels like I can remember a woman being straddled on either side of the armrests and apologizing for it when she realized she actually did wake the beast. But I think I just went back to sleep, or I said no worries. The fact that it's a woman's face and crotch in my face, less harmful and emotionally traumatic than a dick and balls. You know, I'm happy to have a dick and balls in my face, but it needs to be on my own time and not when I'm in an international flight. Let me brush my teeth, please. I think that's all I have time for today. There wasn't much. We just discussed goals and travel, and that's about it. Next week will be my final week in Sydney on this couch. I might even record a buffer episode because I have no idea when and how I'm arriving in London. So maybe we've got 2 more weeks in Sydney. Who's to say? Again, want to say thank you if you joined me at my show on Saturday, the 21st at the Comedy Store. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to say thank you if you've supported me over the last however long listening to this podcast, telling your friends to listen to an episode, coming to a show, messaging me. Some of you have messaged me saying you like the episodes. I fucking froth every single time one of you says that you listen to this. It is so cool because it's just shit talking, and that's my favorite part of comedy and creating stuff, is creating something that feels really like familiar and fun and you know, whatever for you guys. I'm not good at vulnerability. My therapist can write a note if you need proof. But anyway, speak to you guys later. Have a beautiful week. Goodbye.